Hi, everyone. I'm John, your host for today on Route to Scale, a short podcast featuring the founders and operators building the future of e commerce, fulfillment, and modern delivery. In this segment today, we're going to be focusing in on Africa, and today I'm very honored to have Leon, founder and CEO of GoBuddy, with me today on this call. GoBuddy is a delivery platform that reimagines last mile delivery by turning everyday travel into economic opportunity and sustainable delivery. Their platform is designed to contribute towards the alleviation of poverty, grow e commerce sales through a sustainable transport system, and reduce transportation costs and help businesses expand into untapped markets. I'm so excited to have this conversation today with you, Leon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, John. It's a pleasure to be here. So excited. Thanks for
Absolutely.
having me.
No. The pleasure is all ours, really. So just to really kick us off here on this podcast, right? We have to know your story, right? What's your story and what led you to start GoBuddy?
So it's such an interesting one. I mean, I was typically, I guess, in like a lot of founders in a corporate job and doing very well, but just not so fulfilled, I guess, inside. And I just got to a point in my life where it was either do this for the rest of my life or do something now. It was almost like a golden handcuffs moment. And I just had to kind of dig deep. It started probably years before I actually made the transition, but I started thinking to myself, like, wow, we live in a country where there's just a lot of poverty, and our youth unemployment rate is about 50%. It's 57% at the moment, and our general unemployment rate is, at about 40 or thereabouts. And it was just kind of dire. And I was thinking to myself, wow, like, I've got this education. Surely I can use my skills to help people in a way that I can feel fulfilled. And it was almost like this search of fulfillment, like what drives me as a person, what gives me purpose. So it was really purpose driven. And COVID hits, lockdown hits, and we live on a farm, which is quite fortuitous because I was able to walk around a lot. And
Right, right.
for the first time in my life, I kind of looked up. And what I mean by that is I was so focused for 15 years at like what was in front of me, and I was really good at this, And then when I looked up, I realized I knew nothing about that. And I was like, wow, okay, this is an eye opener. But what hit me was I planted the seed that if I ever moved from where I was, it had to be scalable. It
Right.
had to be huge. It had to be something that impacts people. Number one, I'm very like passionate about people and helping people. And then second thing I'm passionate about is nature. Now I've got three kids. I want them to grow up in a world that is, beautiful. And we have such a beautiful world. So I was like, if I can combine those two things, people, nature, and where do I find the other puzzle piece, the efficiency? And like, I loved efficiency because I was an asset manager in that field. I would look at different sectors in the market and look for like, where are there just unbelievable businesses creating efficiency and scale and just like disrupting and all of that. And then it hit me, like I literally was walking on in November 2020. Um, and I was just like, boom, it stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, why are ordinary people not delivering goods? I mean, like goods delivery is just exploding, as we know. And everyone's online and everyone's moving around. Like, why haven't the two like merged? And I just thought to myself, like, all this needs is tech. This just needs a good platform, and then we can make this happen. And literally, like a roller coaster since then. So that's where it all came about.
Wow. Absolutely love it. You're on a farm, COVID,
Yeah.
moment of realization. That's so awesome. Just want to move on, into to double click on that that background that you had. You mentioned you had a successful career managing investment portfolios and whatnot, right? So how do you see the synergies, or not, maybe, maybe it's just completely different between growing capital and now moving into building your own awesome delivery ecosystem and platform?
Yeah, it's given me such a great foundation. I mean, everything, like a lot of what business is being very diligent about finances, being very forward looking about what's coming. So there's always this like financial risk hat that you have to manage as a founder. So it really has helped me a lot with that double checking. Um, I mean, like I double check everything. And those are just habits that I think you need as a founder for your investors to have confidence in you. Um, you have to have diligent processes in place. And what I didn't have was like tech and those kinds of things. But what I'd learned is, what to put forward in front of an investor. What are the metrics they're looking for? How long to plan ahead in terms of a capital raise. You can't start planning a month or two before you run out of money. Um, all of those kind of things, what to say, how to instill confidence. And it really did give me a good foundation. But if someone had said to me right there, it would be as hard as it was, man, I don't know if I would have done it, but it's also this beautiful road that we as founders travel, where the unknown is just so special. You never know what's around the corner, and it's almost like being an explorer. You're driven by this thing that is so inherent and like inside of you, but you have to know it's going to work. There can't be an ounce of doubt in you, but yet you go on this roller coaster that almost kills you every day. But you wake up the next day and you go again. So it's a very, so yeah, it gave me a great base. But where I am now, I would say the learnings are so fast, so many. I think what I can take from my old life is just very good core foundations to managing a business. But now I'm just like, that's 10% of what I'm learning at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think similar for us when we were starting Nika in our earlier days. I remember a quote from Elon Musk that was like, someone was like, you know, um, what would you recommend, for someone starting their company? And he was just like, don't do it.
Don't,
He's
don't
like,
do it.
don't,
I,
he's
I
like,
saw that.
don't do it. It's like, if I were to describe starting a
Yeah.
tech company, it'll be like eating, yeah, it'll be like choosing to eat glass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's so mad.
yeah,
But we go, hey? We do
exactly.
it because we know that there's just some allure, like there's this allure out there that if I can get it right, like I can change so many lives and change the world in a part and leave this legacy. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think that shows a very comprehensive overview into you, but now I want to get into the nitty-gritties, which is what I love always, into logistics and
Mm,
how differentiation really comes into play, and especially when we found GoBuddy, which uniquely has a very powerful differentiating factor where, as you already mentioned, you choose to find a way to turn everyday commuting into delivery routes itself, right? Where did that idea kind of come from, right? And why is it the right model for South Africa specifically?
yeah. So the idea came from like, this is how delivery had always been. Like 2,000, 5,000 years ago, however far back you want to go, people commuted between villages, between towns, cities, whatever. And you had this trust, like literally, like unforgiving trust to give someone Persian carpet and say, can you please take this to my cousin in the next village? And it would get there. And like I think what happened is there was this commercialization, which happens in life and which happens in the world, um, of the industry, and you had the big players coming through and commercializing it. But what actually happened is that aspect was lost. So what we are doing is not new. What we are doing is actually the oldest delivery on the planet. But now what we have is we've got a phone, which is vital. So the smartphone has like revolutionized taking something old and putting it into something new, or turning it into something new where people are connected. So how do we use that device to connect people? And how do we ask those people to use that device the way we want to? So like, why could this work now? First of all, it was like, okay, we can use this mechanism, delivery, for impact, massive impact, like proper impact. Secondly, like, we can remove the barriers to entry in these opportunities. Like, how do we do that? So like, remove the data cost. Look at the Uber model and say, like, does that serve or not serve our model? Like, so Uber was a massive influence. I love that business. I think it's great, but does it work in the way that we want it to work? No, because it does create somewhat of a like hawker mentality where these individuals congregate outside of like shopping centers and stuff. And we were like, okay, first of all, we want to remove the requirement for a mode of transport. So you don't need any mode of transport, you can walk. We want to take away the data, and then we want people to feel comfortable delivering on their terms, like their routes. So we merged all of that, and we said, like, if we can make this happen in South Africa, where gender inequality is huge, like very few people have modes of transport. It's mostly public transport. The cost of living is a problem, so people don't have a lot of money to spend. So how do we take that and put an opportunity in front of someone and say, if you can just pick up, drop off, and have a mobile phone, we'll send you opportunities. And that's what we did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Mm.
amazing. So amazing. I just want
Mm.
to follow on to that, right? I think you mentioned very briefly about the gender situation, right? As I was doing research, one unique thing about your company as well is 57% of your transporters are women in what is, typically a male-dominated industry. I know here
Yeah.
in Singapore and so I rarely see women as my delivery
Yeah.
riders when I order order anything, right? So how did that come about, and how did you, make that happen? And what is unique about your model that
Mm.
you're allowed to, create such amazing opportunities for women as well?
Yeah. I mean, this is crazy because we didn't necessarily put that forward as a massive metric
Mm,
at the start. So
right.
we just knew, like, okay, this is a problem, but let's see how it goes. And what we did is we started partnering, because I mean, like, if you think about this, like, if you just go to markets in a country that's got high crime, and you're just offering anyone the opportunity to become a transporter, I think you are looking for trouble. So what we had to do is we had to really think of a very um, strategic route to market in acquiring transporters or getting people. So what we did is we partnered with job seeking forums first.
Oh.
So what we knew is we knew that these were job seekers that had been verified. So we would double verify them, and then that would already take away the risk. And then what we started noticing is that when we put this opportunity in front of these forums, it was the women mostly that came to the opportunities. So what we started seeing is like, whoa, like this is all about women. Like, women are feeling like this opportunity suits them. So we actually did research on it. So we did research with an institution called SA Youth, or Harambee, in South Africa. And what we found was that like women are like the head of the household in terms of like managing the house, like this is like quite traditional, which it's moving away from, I know, but still inherently like they are like separated from the economy because they feel the need that they have to like raise children and cook the food and all of that, and then there's this real like um difficulty to remove themselves from the home, so why does this work for them? Because it's their own terms, it's their own roots. When they are available, they will do it, and all of a sudden we started like noticing all these things, but then we started noticing like even like more in-depth things, and that is like how driven women are. Like,
Wow.
like we are just like, most of our applications are like apply, and then you can phone, you can leave a voice note or send through. And we just started finding that like there was a huge need to empower women in South Africa. So yeah, it's really cool. We've got this one project which is
So cool.
almost exclusively women. And that is, it's like a micro hub project, in a way where we've got like homeowners that are managing deliveries for us, for the network, for customers. And we send these deliveries to the homeowner, and we allow the homeowner to participate in the um, transport and network with us. So choose their network, and then what we do is we subsidize that network with women only.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just like really community, working with community to do deliveries. So it really is a big, powerful one. I mean, 2%, less than 2% of the industry are women, and we didn't know why. Like, but they once we started doing the research, we found out why. Because how do you get to do your driver's license if you haven't got a car? How do
Right.
you get the car? Who's working to earn the money to buy the car? Like, so there was, it went so deep. So we're trying to unwind all of that, and it's just a great process, really.
So crazy. Like, I think I've
Mm,
spoken, I've been in this kind of business for so long. I've never seen this kind of innovative model. So like I mentioned, that's really
amazing.
unique, really awesome. Like, kudos to you. Like I
Thanks.
said, I don't even think I've ever seen in Asia. I don't think I've ever seen a woman delivery rider before. So that's really amazing. As we
We have
know,
to come to Asia.
absolutely. I mean, we hope,
Yeah,
we hope it's sometime soon.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I know I just want to get into the nitty-gritties now because we also know that logistics is a messy place, right? It's messy. It's super important. It's the bedrock of our economies, but at times it gets complex. It gets messy, right? So maybe for us, right, especially because you have such a unique model and setup, right? What have you learned about trust, reliability, and customer expectations in South African e-commerce?
Mm. Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, what we had to do when we started this business is we had to understand the psychology of a customer,
Hmm.
and an e-com customer, for example. But now, I mean, there's so many other different industries that use logistics, as you say, that receive a parcel. That it wasn't just e-com, but we did our initial research on e-com
Right.
because we thought like that's where the opportunity lies, which is also an interesting thing, because there's opportunity in many different industries, in logistics. But the individual didn't really care about what that person was wearing, which company they worked for. Um, what they cared about is that they got their parcel um, in a fairly good time, and that the communication between the individual delivering and them, the customer, was good.
Hmm.
As long as that was in place and they got their parcel and it was a smile and a here you go, and they're happy days. That's all that they want. So we said to ourselves, like, wow, like, do we really need to provide these individuals with t-shirts and caps and branding and all of that kind of stuff, because they like, this is them, this is their job, like their business. Like, we just want to be the tech for them to create what they want to create for it. And in fact, at the moment, we've got this marketing campaign on our Instagram, which is making delivery stylish. And it's that's the campaign, and it's just like, it's I love it because it's individuals in their individual way delivering, and like, that is so cool, I reckon. And the complexities were over analyzed, I think, by the industry. And when we saw that, we were like, you know what? It doesn't have to be this difficult. We can make this work. Everyone thinks this isn't. And by the way, like, a lot of people thought this wasn't going to work. A lot of people. I mean, we pitched 65 times,
Wow.
failed. Yeah.
Wow.
So everyone looked at South Africa and said, "My goodness, like, you are messing with fire here. Like, this is a high crime rate. You're trusting individuals with parcels. These are just going to go missing." So, just by the way, in the last 2 years, we've had 2 parcels missing. Two in two
Wow.
years.
That's a super
Yeah, it's
high,
incredible.
that's a very high awesome rate.
A
Wow.
success rate.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
success
So,
rate.
so we started looking at that, and there's a few reasons for this, which answers your question. Is
Yeah.
trust.
Wow.
Okay, so if you put trust in someone,
Hmm.
they're going to trust you. So it's how you communicate that trust, how you give them that opportunity, and it does come down to kind of a little bit of game theory, in a way. But it's like, if they do it and they get paid, they'll do it again. The individuals don't know what's in the box. They don't really want to know. As long as we are making it convenient, it's on their way, they pick up their drop off. Like, we had this one retailer, very cool company, and he does hoodies, t-shirts, caps, that kind of stuff. And um, got him on board, and the next week, like, he phoned us and he's like, "Listen, is this for real?" Like, and I was like, "What? Mandla, tell me what's wrong." And he's like, "No, no, no, nothing's wrong. My customers just phoned me and she got her hoodie in half an hour from when it left my store." And I was like, "I know, it's crazy how this works, because, like, you'll get that situation where the individual, the transporter, is just in the right place at the right time. They're like on their way home, and the customers, like, within their neighborhood, and they pick it up and they drop it off, and it just, like, works. Like, we've always, I mean, I wish every single parcel was that quick, but it's that. And he was like, "This is crazy." And that is the moments that make me, like, run outside and be like, "Yeah," like,
Wow.
it's just that matching and that efficiency. So yeah, trust is a huge thing. Like, we are trusting. I mean, it's one of our missions, and it's in our mission statement,
Wow.
and it's on our website. Is we trust in people, and I think then they give that trust back to us. So, like, honestly speaking, if you go about this a good way, and it's hard work to do that, and you work with the right people. Most people, and I'm talking 99.9% of people, are good.
Wow.
The bad ones, you just have to think about how you're not going to get those ones onto your network. And we've thought long and hard about how to do that. And yeah, and it works like that. So I hope
Wow.
I answered your question.
You
Yeah.
wow, you I don't know, your answers are also just so crisp and clear. I love it, Thank you so much. That's very unique.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, just, in our part of the world, I feel like deliveries are not that high quality. People just dump the stuff there and then leave. But I feel like, with you have a strong personal
Exactly.
touch that really differentiates you in a very unique way. So really, awesome job. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting about what you've just said is
Yeah.
it's not our personal touch. It's the
Right.
individual.
Wow.
So it's like, if you are, and I guess that, and it's weird, like as you talking now and I'm talking, I'm also realizing a lot. And that is, like when you have a job to do and you are doing this day in and day out and you're delivering 50 deliveries a day, it becomes so mundane that you're like, boom, and you move on.
Right.
And when you're an individual and you're earning a side hustle income and it suits you and it's convenient,
Hmm.
and you're in a good mood or you're not in a good mood, I mean, you could make that delivery experience like the best delivery experience of the customer's life just because of how you feel and like how
Right.
you look, and it's super interesting.
Wow.
Mm,
Really, really unique. So, as we also know, um, in logistics, we know, like we mentioned, there's always challenges, right? Especially when you're trying
mm.
to do something as innovative as what you're trying to really do and push, right? Um, what's the biggest challenge, you're focused on right now? What keeps you up awake? What keeps you awake at night, especially considering, especially I don't know, as I assume, as you think about scaling this awesome model, right? What are some of the challenges that come with this?
Sure. I mean, there's so many challenges. The interesting thing is when you're managing or trying to manage ordinary people, it's just like a nonstop case study of like use cases that you've never thought of. So, like one of the big challenges to scale is obviously communication is one very important one. Like, I mean, logistics, you need to communicate. There's various parties on that communication chain. It needs to be clear. It needs to be precise. There needs to be like a kind of a chain of command and all of this kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
that's one thing we're spending a lot of time on every day and have been for a long time is how to get a scalable comm system that's got a human touch, but that is driven by AI.
Hmm.
That body of knowledge needs to be crisp, it needs to be clear, it needs to be um, like a human, as close to a human as possible. Meaning, like, if you're going to ask a question, you need to get relevant information. And this has been like, I mean, months and months and months and months of work. So that's one thing. If you want to get a system to scale with tens of thousands of deliveries a day,
Hmm.
you cannot do it without a good comm system. There's no ways. There's this whole new metric that exists, and I'm sure you've heard about it. And that's revenue per employee. And that's what AI has brought about in this world that we live in. Is like, when you're raising capital, the investor is now looking at what's the revenue per employee, what's your operational expenses like? Are you utilizing everything as effectively as you can? So, like, your ops team is super critical, super critical. Like, you need to have, however many people, less than what a traditional has, where you have looked at what are the elements that need to be in place for this individual. And maybe there's 10, maybe there's 20, where they can monitor
Hmm.
and only get involved when they need to,
Hmm.
you know? Um, to build that takes a long, long, long time with ordinary people, because basically what you're putting in place is you're putting in place alerts, protocols, touch points,
Hmm.
everything. Because we have tens of thousands of people that we're working with and not 100 drivers, so I think that's the one that always keeps us honest
Hmm.
and humble, is how are we going to make this work with millions of deliveries with a small team of people, and how are we going to leverage um, you know AI to the best of our abilities through potentially an orchestration layer where everything speaks to itself. So yeah, so I mean that's the one. The second one that keeps us awake is or at least that keeps me awake, because as a founder, you're the only one that's lying awake. Is this potential, like someone arriving at someone's house and there's an incident, a
Hmm.
physical incident or something like that, and you can only really mitigate that risk to a degree. But it might happen one day. So and how we do that is just by being very diligent with our onboarding, who we're working with, the partnerships, all of those. So that's I think a second one. I mean, like for me, theft and damage, we passed that point now. We know the system works, which is kind of a relief because that was the biggest one at the start. So it's weird how that's migrated from can this work to it's working, can we scale? So it's been this kind of from practical to technology based. That's been kind of the transition that I'm looking at. Other challenges is systems is always a big one. So like APIs that speak to APIs, integrations that work well. We're working with lots of third-party couriers, that and those systems need to be in place. So if something happens, have you got the right protocols in place to say that it wasn't your fault, it was their fault?
Mm.
Have they understood that those are in place? The one, like if you want to go into an agreement with a third party courier, like you need to make sure that your legals are like down. And then once that is down, your processes need to be robust. Like you need to be able to account for everything along that journey. What happened here? What happened here? What happened here? Their timestamps. So we spent a lot of time doing that so that, first of all, those conversations never muddy because of a vague thing. Because what's going to happen is there are going to be incidents, there are going to be stressful situations, but as long as the facts are all there, the relationship remains good, and that's what you want because those are also your customers. There's a two-way thing here. You service them, they service you. It's because that's how our model works.
Wow.
Basically, we're a service provider to the couriers, and then the couriers are also an option on our platform for our customers. You know what I mean? So it's very important that you maintain like a marriage. You work at that marriage, and you make sure that okay, when something comes up, I know what should or shouldn't be there. It's my fault, or it's their fault, or and you have the facts in place. Yeah.
Wow, wow, awesome, awesome. Just a couple of last few questions here as we really start to wrap up here. But one of the things that we came to know about Africa is that Africa has also some unique challenges, because not everything is mapped, to the most accurate or best of its capabilities, right? So how do you go about some of those challenges?
Yeah. This is a great question, and I think that it's good that we've left some time for this because it's an important one. Like the country or the continent is, I mean, let me talk about South Africa because I know South Africa very well, but then I'll talk about Africa there afterwards. I think, there's a very big divide in demographics in South Africa and Africa. So
Right.
you've got these very poor areas, which are kind of largely, well, when I say largely unmapped, I mean it's unmapped within a 20-kilometer radius,
Right, right.
but outside of that, it's mapped, so,
Right.
but within that 20
It's like some
kilometer
blind spots here
radius,
and there.
you could have 500,000 to 700,000 people living there. And that
Yes.
is a massive opportunity. And if you've got, I mean, in South Africa, we've got 500 of those kinds of communities. You saw the numbers start getting huge,
Mm.
and that is largely how Africa works. There's these kind of divide in demographics. So like for the normal suburban areas, we do what all the other logistics kind of networks do out there, but we've got that community transport layer in there. So, and as we refine that and build that over time and build that base of transporters and cover more and more routes, that will become more on demand, quicker, and essentially every business, and this is really what we would like, is every business has its community driven network that's on demand, that's quick, and got that they don't need to literally, with a plugin, with an API. Secondly, the massive thing here is, and when I say here in South Africa, is that there are people, and let's go back to, I mean, your question is largely why it's so complex, but I also want to talk about the opportunity around that as well.
Yeah.
Is you've got people sitting in these places where couriers are just scared to go, man.
Oh.
They are like, they don't want to send a vehicle in there because this vehicle is going to get hijacked or taken out. And if we can provide a solution where we say to the courier company, and this is what we do, is we say, that community there has 1 million people, and we've got various micro hubs in there and networks, transport networks are out there. If you've got 500 deliveries today that need to go into that community, send it to us. You might make 2 drop-offs, you might make 3 drop-offs at our micro hubs. And that's all that your courier is going to do. And we will deliver those within 24 hours to the customers. And so what's interesting about mapping, and where we will talk in the future, is there's a huge mapping void in South Africa that exists at the moment, where I think one can really capture a lot of that through innovative tech. And I think we're a partner that people want to partner with to do that, because of the scope that we have and the amount of people we have running around. And you can do that in a very cost-effective way. But largely speaking, what we're trying to do is give those communities access to online deliveries, which they currently don't have. So on most of the online websites at the moment, whether it's groceries or whatever, and I'm talking like essentials, bread, milk, food, they cannot get delivery. And it's a problem because first of all, when they try and check out, the place, will say no delivery, or it will just be like exorbitant, like too expensive. So what they're doing is they are separated from the economy, but there's even a bigger inherent problem here. And that is that these individuals are like mostly blue collar workers that wake up early, that commute before the sun comes up to a bus, that get on that bus, that work the whole day, that then come home after dark and repeat. And what might happen is one of their family members might be at home looking after a child or whatever. How do they then get on a taxi, get to the shops? And it's a mission. So the convenience of delivery to these communities is actually quite essential. I mean, not the convenience, the need for delivery to these communities is essential because it's convenient, and then, so we are trying to bring delivery to people that don't have them. Secondly, and why I'm super excited about our platform as a solution to the South Africa in the next 2-3 decades, is because there's going to be the rise of the entrepreneur, and all these small businesses coming out of these communities. And I think there are exceptional individuals sitting there that have amazing products, but all they can service is people walking in front of their store. Why? Because even if they get an online store, no courier is going to come and pick their goods up and deliver it. So we're going to be the solution that says, hey, if you're an entrepreneur in these communities, we can get your stuff from that community into the big city, into all those customers.
Wow.
So there's a very big play there.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, and then you've got the daisy chain where, we can combine couriers with these micro hubs. So yeah, I'm super excited about the
Wow.
future. I
Wow.
think we're only at the start, and it's going to be exciting.
Wow. Wow. Is it to really say you might have, potentially have this unique angle because when other couriers maybe might be scared to enter these communities, you have your unique model allows you to work with people
Yeah,
within the communities, right? To then be able
yeah,
to
and we've already set up the transport
exactly
networks.
crazy. Wow. Wow.
So it's just forming the relationship with the couriers and saying,
Wow.
guys,
Wow.
we've got a solution for you.
Yeah.
Try us out, and let's see how it goes.
Wow. Wow. That's
Mm,
so, so amazing. So last two questions, we're already coming to an end. Oh
mm,
my goodness. So what does the next stage of growth look like for GoBuddy?
mm. Yeah, the next stage is really getting the buy-in of enterprise.
Hmm.
I think what's so special with our model is, if you think about it, really, we're a background tech to a larger play, like to ecom,
Hmm.
So, and we're happy with that. The peer-to-peer offering that we promote in the market is cool to have, but it's not where the volume sits. I mean, you and I both know that the volume sits with ecom and all of that, and and I think what has become more relevant over the last decade, especially, is ESG in the world. I mean, the Paris Agreement, climate change, all of this has just become, and we are passionate about that. And if you think about our model and you think about an enterprise customer, like when they want to use delivery,
Hmm.
at the moment, there are just huge emissions in equal value distribution. And you supporting kind of a capitalist model.
Hmm.
Okay. Whereas with our model, what you do is you plug in an ESG play in the normal operations of your business. What you start doing is you as a business become the champion of social upliftment as well as emissions reduction.
Hmm.
Um, we will account for the emissions. We will report on the social upliftment angle, and then you start really providing meaningful impact with your business
Hmm.
through a service that you need anyway.
Hmm.
So that's really, I think, the next big drive for us. Is to create meaningful partnerships with the enterprise customers, whether it be banks, whether it be retailers, and we've just been nominated to represent South Africa for the Earthshot Prize. Um,
Wow, congratulations.
yeah,
Wow,
thank you very much.
congratulations.
And it's going to be confirmed whether it's this year or next year. But 91 is the business that's the nominator of South Africa. So we're really fortunate. This has just happened in the last month.
Wow.
And we feel like we're getting to a level where credibility is now coming in place. Because it used to be this like, we'll see if it works. And now it was like, um, something, I mean, they're still surviving. Like, I thought you would be out of business now to where we are today, where it's like, yeah, maybe we should use them, and it's been a wonderful journey. But I think GoBuddy has such an interesting model that delivery and logistics is just the start. But it's such a foundation. It's like you said at the start of our call, everything revolves around logistics.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, and that's why we chose that as the core of the business. Is we want to just build that out for the next couple of years, 3, 4, 5 years, into what it should be. Yeah.
Wow, that's why I love what I'm doing, just, learning so much also from all of you amazing folks. Very last question. We really got to wrap up here, but it's just been too good. If you had one last piece of advice you'll give to other founders who's looking to build the future of sustainable and inclusive last mile deliveries, last mile focused businesses in Africa, what would you give them?
I would say um, you have to be obsessed. Um, if you are not obsessed with this problem, wake up thinking about it, go to sleep thinking about it. It's not going to work. There's just so many elements involved. I think you have to partner. It's just too big to do this alone. You have to partner with great companies that are thinking the same things, and just look at affiliations and all of those kinds of things. You have to hire exceptional people. Like, people are the core of your business. The logistics is not a one or two person uh, play. It's a team. So your team is going to be your business is going to be as strong as your team. Really, I think another thing is you have to think about the barriers to entry.
Mm,
And this is not for every logistics business out there. So we really looked at how do we remove barriers to entry to make this inclusive, to make this sustainable. So where we play is in the sustainable, inclusive impact space. But there is also, logistics in like cold chain, which is super vital.
mm,
So that side, and we work with those institutions, and they've got a totally different set of facts. But I think, like, ultimately your team is so critical. Your team is like everything, and you just have to have the same vision, talk all the time. And yeah, team and partnerships, I think, would be my major advice.
wow, wow. That's so awesome. Um, Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining us on this call, Leon. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching today. This is Route to Scale. Today, we're featuring Leon from GoBuddy, and we're so excited, for him to jump on this. And thank you so much, Leon, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, John. It's been a pleasure to be here.